Hi there, welcome back to Bookshelf Brilliance, where timeless knowledge meets modern insight. This is episode 8 of season 1. As you know, we're continuing through Dale Carnegie's How to Win Friends and Influence People, and we're on chapter 5 of part 2. Part 2 being 6 ways to make people like you, and chapter 5 is how to interest people. Too bad I'm recording this after Thanksgiving, as it would have helped you talk amongst your family and friends around the dinner table, but you'll have just enough time to brush up for the end-of-year holidays, whether it's Christmas, Hanukkah, and we all celebrate New Year's, right? As always, we thank you for spending your time with us, and we'd love to stay connected with you in between episodes on Instagram at bookshelf_brilliance or through email at bookshelfbrilliancevm@gmail.com. And please subscribe if you haven't already so that you never miss an episode. And now, let's dive in to Season 1, Episode 8, and learn how to interest people. As I mentioned in the intro, we're recording this right after Thanksgiving. And it's a really timely episode with the entire holiday season still upon us. Thanksgiving really kicks that off, but we all have busy Decembers and early Januaries. When we host for the holidays, or we know we're having people over, even if it's not a holiday, let's say you have nieces and nephews that typically visit your house and they like juice boxes. When you go to Costco, you tend to buy juice boxes even if you may not drink juice boxes yourself, right? Similarly, I always have brisk iced tea because I know my sister who comes over loves brisk iced tea. As we all do our Christmas or holiday shopping, and we have our list of people to buy gifts for, when we go to the store, do we buy stuff that we would like? Maybe in some cases because our interests align, but for example, when I'm shopping for my wife, I tend to pick up things like pocketbooks. She really likes leggings, maybe a nice pair of earrings. All things I personally wouldn't like if you gave me as a gift, but the gift isn't for me, it's for her. We need to learn how to bring that habit that we have when we're shopping for gifts for somebody, or we're shopping at the supermarket for items that people who often frequent our house tend to enjoy, into our daily interactions with other people, especially with other people who we are going to ask something for, whether we're selling them something if we're in sales, or if we're asking for an increased budget for a project at work, or maybe something that doesn't cost money, so to say, but moving back a deadline. We need to appeal to the interest of the person that we're speaking to in all matters of our life. And we're going to spend today's episode diving into just how you do that. Everyone who was ever a guest of Theodore Roosevelt was astonished at the range and diversity of his knowledge. Whether his visitor was a cowboy or a rough rider, a New York politician or a diplomat, Roosevelt knew what to say. How did he do this? The answer is a lot simpler than you may think. He simply sat up late the night before, educating himself on the interest of his guest. For Teddy Roosevelt knew, as all leaders know, that the royal road to a person's heart is to talk about the things he or she treasures most. Carnegie introduces us to a less famous historical figure than Teddy Roosevelt in the genial William Lyon Phelps, who was an essayist and professor of literature at Yale, who is famous for teaching the first class on the modern novel at any American university. Phelps learned this lesson early on in life of how to interest people. Quoted from the chapter, "When I was 8 years old and was spending a weekend visiting my Aunt Libby Lindsley at her home in Stratford," Phelps wrote in his essay on human nature, "a middle-aged man called one evening, and after a polite skirmish with my aunt, he devoted his attention to me. At that time, I happened to be excited about boats, and the visitor discussed the subject in a way that seemed particularly interesting. After he left, I spoke of him with enthusiasm. What a man! My aunt informed me he was a New York lawyer, that he cared nothing whatever about boats, that he took not the slightest interest in the subject. But why, then, did he talk all the time about boats? My aunt said, because he is a gentleman. He saw you were interested in boats, and he talked about the things he knew would interest and please you. He made himself agreeable. Phelps added, I never forgot my aunt's remark. He learned a valuable lesson then, with how he felt to the gentleman who appealed to him by striking a chord with his interest, and he devoted the rest of his life towards mastering that skill. We need to talk in terms of what interests the other party that we are speaking to. Again, whether it is with our 4-year-old child, our spouse, or our boss at work. Let's take that latter example. When you're talking to your boss, your superior, presenting to the infamous steering committee, you must speak their language, use their tongue, communicate in their vernacular, highlight the return on investment, emphasize how you decreased risk, spotlight your plans to increase revenue, accentuate what was learned through your SWOT analysis, talk about the first mover advantage you're going to have, how your economies of scale is going to help the bottom line, how this increases your diversification, the cost-benefit analysis you did. Maybe it's supply chain optimization, customer penetration, market penetration. Maybe you decreased the cost to acquire a customer, or your hypothesis is that this will help you increase customer retention. Speak in the language that will engage your leadership. Leave out the fluff and get right down to what they care about. In less formal settings, you should do this as well. It's very easy for me when someone likes football, as you know, American football is one of my most favorite things to talk about and to watch, and naturally it's very easy for me to appeal to somebody who likes football, but somehow I don't understand how it's not everybody's favorite thing. Some people may like opera, and if you want to be interesting to them, you need to know a little bit about opera so you can talk to them about opera. You need to know who Janae Bridges is. For those of you that don't know, she is hailed as the Beyonce of opera. If my boss loved opera, I may want to bring up in conversation how I saw that on February 15th and the 16th, Made in America, starring Janae Bridges, will be at the Metropolitan Museum. And that if they are unable to catch that show, Janae will be back at the end of April and beginning of May at the Met performing El Nino. By taking an interest in their interest, they will naturally seek you out to talk, to BS with, as if you're buddies. And isn't that what you want? Be someone they'd like to have a beer with. Be someone they would love to have lunch with. Someone that they'd be willing to spend time with in a setting where they're not forced to spend time with you. By being interesting to others, you will get yourself a seat at that table. Now let us finish strong. Imagine this. You want to appeal to a powerful person. A person who cares about success, stature, making money. Now I charmed the secretary and I got my way into this person's office. Here I am in this huge, impressive office, desk made of, the finest mahogany you've ever seen. Plaques adorning all the walls. I don't ever notice things like curtains, but I could tell that these curtains are super expensive. To break the awkward silence, they say, "How about it, young man?" Me, appealing to their interest, I come straight out and I say, "I believe I can make money for you." All of a sudden, they start shuffling. They rise up. And they say, "You know what? Sit down." You hook them. Now they'll listen to your ideas. They'll let you tell them about the qualifications you have to realize these ideas. And they'll especially be excited to listen to how you would contribute to their personal success and that of their business. Talking in terms of the other person's interests pays off for both parties. Principle 5. Talk in terms of the other person's interest. Thank you for spending your precious time with us here at Bookshelf Brilliance. Join us next time where we find Principle 6 in 6 ways to make people like you and close out Part 2 of How to Win Friends and Influence People. Subscribe to us wherever it is that you get podcasts And don't forget to follow us on Instagram at bookshelf_brilliance. Drop us a DM, comment on one of our posts. We'd love to hear from you. You can also email us at bookshelfbrilliancevm@gmail.com. Until next time, keep learning, my friends.